Hey guys, this is Sundown Rider, and this is my review to One Piece Chapter 837, Luffy versus Commander Cracker. And where to start really, this was an awesome chapter. Well, we start off with Cracker announcing that he's the Biscuit Knight. He's going hand to hand with Luffy. Well, he's using his swords, and but we already knew he's the Biscuit Knight. I think we just found out last chapter his bounty was around, was it 860 million or was it 830? It was above 800 million. And really, these bounties are starting to go sky high. Luffy's about 500 million at the moment, and yeah. So and we just saw Jax like about 10, 20 chapters ago. So yeah, all these bounties are going sky high at the moment. So yeah, Cracker's there. Is fighting Luffy, and one thing I'd like to know is what is Cracker's devil fruit? He must have some sort of devil fruit because we saw him last chapter going, and his arms kind of split, kind of like General Grievous type thing. But does he have like the split fruit or multiply type of fruit? Because his sword, which he names as well, it's a named sword. He calls it Pretzel. That also splits alongside his arms, so he's got like 6 arms or something, and he's got 6 swords as well. So I'm not sure what type of fruit he has. I personally think it's a split fruit or a multiply type of fruit. So Luffy goes straight into Gear 3. He's not messing, well, Gear 30. He's not messing about, and he goes into Elephant Gun, and it's coated in Buso Shokuhaki. His color of arms is it, and Cracker blocks it with his shield, his kind of biscuit shaped shield, and I'd like to note that Cracker is all the way through this fight. He's using Buso Shokuhaki. Luffy notes this as well. So he blocks Luffy's attack and just shoves it away, almost as if it was nothing. He was a little bit shocked by Luffy's, by I presume the strength of Luffy's attack. But once he kind of judged the amount of strength in Luffy's elephant gun, he just nudged it away like it was nothing. So then Cracker kind of goes on like a semi-rampage. Luffy does his best to dodge. He then gets he gets hit by Cracker with like 3 of his swords coming around from the right side, I think it was. Luckily enough, Luffy's Buso Shokuhaki saved him, and but he still got knocked sideways. So yeah, Cracker's going on this rampage, and then he hits Luffy with a move called Pretzel Roll, which is kind of like a twisting thrust of his sword. It hits Luffy square in the stomach. Once again, Luffy was guarded with his Buso Shokuhaki, but he gets knocked clear of the forest. He just gets knocked out of the forest into like a cake mountain type thing, like just a cake rock face or something. And something I found really funny was when Kraken knocks Luffy out of the forest, a lot of homies are getting destroyed as Luffy's getting knocked through them. That was pretty funny. So Nami's watching all this, and she's pretty shocked. She's obviously in shock. Her captain's getting destroyed by Big Mom's underling, one of her 3 underlings. So we assume they're all around the same strength. So she's really shocked, and so is Pound. And as I mentioned, Luffy actually gets knocked clear of the forest. So Nami then realizes how spot on, how right Chopper was about underestimating the crew of a Yonko. Because if you remember, Chopper was saying a couple chapters ago that they were severely underestimating the crew of a Yonko, Big Mom. So then Brûlé gives an extensive rundown. I mean, she was really fighting for screen time. She wanted to get into those panels, but she gives an extensive rundown of how disappointing the worst generation actually are in her eyes. Well, not disappointing. She's just saying how kind of chicken shit they were. They haven't really done anything. I mean, she mentions that there have been loads of captains whose crews were trying to make them pirate kings, and none of them was successful, especially when they'd come alongside Mama's territory. So the few she mentions of the worst generation who have gone through Mama's territory are Kid, Apu, Gang Beige, and Rouge, the Mad Monk. And they've all been into Mama's territory. Now, Beige, as we know, he quickly became a subordinate. He realized that he would get wrecked by Big Mom if he tried to actually fight her. So he quickly became a subordinate. We already know this. But the rest were escorted out. So does that mean they were defeated and thrown out? Kind of like were Kid, Apu, and well, we know Beige wasn't, and Rouge escorted out like that? without it. But they haven't even seen Big Mom. Brule actually mentions that they didn't even see Big Mom. So I reckon Kid and Apu didn't even try to fight. I think their sights were already set on Shanks at that moment in time. So Arouge was actually the only one, we find out through Brule again, that who actually put up a fight. He fought anybody who came at him, and he took down one of the 4 original commanders. So there were 4 commanders originally, and one of them was taken out by Arouge the Mad Monk. And personally, I didn't think Arouge was all that. I mean, like, out of all the supernovas back when we were first introduced to them, he had like the lowest bounty or something like that, and he was the one who took out one of the 4 commanders. And if we assume the 4th commander, or whatever number he is, one of the 4 commanders, the one that was taken down by Arouge, if we assume he was as strong as Cracker is, Arouge is really something. He's got to be as strong or slightly maybe weaker than Luffy is at the moment, because he took out a commander, and we don't know how much effort he put into it though, so I can't really say how strong he is. So he may not be as strong as Luffy is. I'm not too sure. So yeah, he took down a commander, and then he got taken out by Cracker. Whether this was because we know that Big Mom sent Cracker out to take out Arouge, but whether this was because Arouge was actually injured, whether this was because Arouge was fatigued, we can't say. All we know is that Cracker took out Arouge, and Brule mentions that his body should be somewhere around here, rotting. But I don't think that's the case, because we saw Arouge in chapter 795, 795 Suicide, which is where we first saw Kaido, and he was covered in bandages, sat down on that Sky Island, and I think that was after his defeat by Cracker. So then Brule spawns the mirror. I think she actually spawns the mirror. She doesn't pull out a mirror out of her coat pocket or something. She actually spawns a mirror. She creates a mirror, and she throws it down to where Nami is, and she kind of crawls out of it like that lady, like that girl in the ring. So she then tries to drag Nami to the other side of the mirror, where Chopper and Carrot are, but Pound distracts her by throwing a punch at her, and I think she let go of Nami, and Nami escapes. So Brule she accidentally calls Pound stepfather by accident. She says something like, "Oh, stepfather, I mean just Pound." So I'm not sure. There's going to be a later point I'm going to make. I think it's just in a few points, but I'll get to that later. But yeah, so then Nami pulls out her I forgot what her rod's called, but she pulls out her weapon, and she totally ends Brule with her Thunder Tempo. And as we thought, Brule wasn't really all that strong. So then Pound confirms, as Nami and himself are walking away, that Brule can actually appear anywhere there's a mirror. Now, whether this means anywhere there's a mirror, as in there has to be an actual glass mirror, or whether this means anywhere there's a reflection, I'm not too sure. I assume it means anywhere there's a glass type of mirror, so that Brule can pop out like that woman from the ring. The Big Mom told her subordinates that they could kill Pound at their leisure. Now, the fact that he's still alive suggests to me that the children of Big Mom, at least the elderly children, like Cracker, Brule, and maybe some of the older ones, like the Lick guy we saw, I think they have a small, or like just small, tiny semblance of respect for Pound, and that they treat him almost like a father type figure, because they haven't killed him yet. He's still alive. He's still just chilling in the forest, waiting for someone to grab him some apple juice. So the fact that he's still alive suggests that they either view him as such a little threat that they don't want to kill him, or just that they don't have the heart to kill him, because he's almost like a father type figure. Because I assume he's always been there, because we haven't seen any of the other fathers, I don't think. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. So King Baum, Randolph, and Crane are watching Nami and Pound just walk away, and King Baum's that big tree guy that Brule was on top of. Randolph and Crane are the rabbit and the crane, and they won't attack Nami because of her Viva card. We already saw last chapter that Lola's Viva card is Big Mom's Viva card, obviously, because Big Mom's her mom, and the homies won't attack. They won't attack Nami because she's in possession of Big Mom's Viva card. So the sole purpose of the homies is made clear in this episode. Well, in this chapter, sorry. Their sole purpose is to make sure no one escapes the woods. That was kind of, I'm not sure if it was fully stated, but we could infer that from the last chapters. Luffy and Cracker are still fighting. Luffy comments that Cracker's Buso Shokuhaki is harder than anything he's ever come across. Now this includes Doflamingo. We find out this chapter that Cracker's Buso Shokuhaki is harder than Doflamingo's. His ability to clad himself in Buso Shokuhaki is better than that Doflamingo had. So this is a key point for later discussion I'm about to bring up. So Cracker tries to talk Luffy into leaving. He's doing the typical Sanji doesn't need you here. He's a prince. We're gonna marry him off to the perfect wife. You know, he doesn't need you here. Go away, basically. He's almost scolding Luffy for getting in the way of a prince's happiness. So Cracker then says even if Sanji were to meet the Straw Hats, he would turn them away, saying, "Leave this instant. The sight of all of you lowly pirates sickens me." Now, for starters, calling Luffy a lowly pirate to his face isn't a good idea. But the fact that he said that Sanji would say this, I knew straight away that was not going to be a good idea. So then we get a small panel where an explosion goes off, and Cracker kind of looks bemused, and I was thinking, oh, what's going on here? And then Luffy went gear fourth. We just see a Kongan slam into Cracker, blowing him aside. I was like, yo, damn, he's just getting wrecked. So Luffy then tells Cracker not to put any words in Sanji's mouth, saying Sanji would never say something like that. Now, this is the part where people will have a lot of discussion, because obviously Cracker got sent flying, but he did still seem conscious to me, and I don't think Cracker's out for the count. I think he's going to come back next chapter. He might be severely weakened, but I think he's going to come back. So the discussion is Cracker as strong as Dofi? Let me know what you think in the comments, but I'll give you my two cents on this right now. So is Cracker as strong as Doflamingo? Well, Luffy's gear third and second didn't really pose a threat to Cracker, which is similar to Doflamingo. His gear third and second didn't really do much. I mean, he landed a couple hawk rifles, but that was because of his partnership with Law and because of their distractions. But Cracker's Buso Shokuhaki, which I mentioned earlier, might be harder, and I think is harder than Doflamingo's Buso Shokuhaki. So this instantly gives him a step ahead in that direction in the Buso Shoku category. However, Dofi was definitely more durable. I mean, Cracker got hit once and he looked like he was almost out, but Dofi just kept getting back up, and he wouldn't sit down. He just kept coming back up. But I think Cracker will probably get back up. I think he's going to come back next chapter, and Luffy will have to put him out of commission for him to stay down. So in general, I think Cracker is actually maybe as strong as Doflamingo, or slightly weaker, but I think he's as strong as Doflamingo. I think because Luffy had to go gear 4 to even phase him. His other attacks weren't doing anything. Luffy had to go gear 4th to take him out. Whether he'll have to use a King Kong gun, I don't think so. But we know that Cracker doesn't seem to have that sinister kind of godlike aura around him. He's not an immortal type of character. Doflamingo was self-healing. He made it look like nothing phased him, and he just kept getting back up. So I think Cracker in general will be as strong or slightly weaker than Doflamingo. Yeah, but I'll give this chapter a solid 4, maybe 4.5 out of 5. It was a good chapter. The start was a little slow. We got Luffy knocked out, and then Brule gave that extensive kind of rundown of the worst generation. But overall, a solid 4. I will give this chapter 4 out of 5. The Gear 4th was good. I like the fact that Luffy had to use Gear 4 because the new world's only going to get harder. It's only going to get, the opponents are only going to get tougher, and he has to develop more fighting techniques. Gear second and third won't be enough for him to take out the top brass. I don't even think he's actually going to fight Big Mom this arc. I don't think they're going to have a fight with Big Mom. He's going to fight probably the executives, but he's not going to be able to get through them without using Gear fourth. So Luffy's going to have to go all out. This has been Sundown Rider. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you later.